The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Thank you for joining us. We're back on the Bhoycie bus this Sunday as Celtic went up to Dingwall and got a comfortable 3-1 win. Well, if you're looking at the BBC, it was dramatic. It was lucky, but Celtic got the 3-1 victory, Mark, and it's sending them back to Dingwall. Mark, I want to ask you, were you one of the lucky people that got to watch the Ross County game yesterday, or were you struggling?
I was struggling, mate. I'll do my best to speak about the match. I saw the highlights and I saw about 50 minutes and I've seen some other stuff. So enough to see to talk about the match, you know what I mean? But I did see the BBC reporting that like it was a scrappy match. I think the stats were like 73% possession to Celtic and 25 shots a goal. So it must be speaking about a different match for what I seen anyway.
Yeah, I need to admit, Mark, I was a bit worried about about 10 minutes to go.
I
was watching the game. I must have been the only person in the last 10 minutes that managed to watch the game. But I was watching it, and when Big Jen came up with 11 minutes to go and put that ball in the pokey, it was good to see. And then you've got Abada's great goal as well. I mean, that goal was just so good. Thank you to everybody that's commenting so far. It's good to see so many people in the comments. But Mark, what are we thinking then? Celtic 3-1 up at Ross County. Surely that's what you expect, and surely Franz Postecoglou is just been building on it for next week.
That's a great result for Celtic. You know, I think any result with Ross County is a good one. You know, because we've always found it a hard place to go to. You know what I mean? It's a wee small pitch, and I don't think it suited wingers yesterday. Although one of our wingers set up 3 goals. So that kind of knocks that theory out of the way. I don't think it was a coincidence that the 3 goals came from the left-hand side when Jota moved out there. I think we're going to discuss Maeda. But I thought the game, for what I seen, was a typical stuffy defence that just sat 20 yards from goals, you know what I mean? And that's where I thought Giakoumakis might have come in, although Kyogo scored a wonderful goal. I thought his performance was pretty quiet, but that's all you can ask at a striker today is score. And to go up to Ross County and get 3 goals and win the match. All right, it came in the last 10 minutes, but the game lasts for 90 minutes. It doesn't matter when you score the goal. It just comes across like it was a lucky finish to enter the game by Celtic. because of the times of the goals. If they scored the 3 goals in the 70th minute or so, the game looks totally different for the casual observer. You know what I mean? We went 1-0 up. Ross County got a goal out of nothing, and we still had the tenacity to win that match. And I think the third goal, more than any of them, kind of summed up Celtic's doggedness. And the way Greg Taylor was clipping people's heels and running into every ball it was available to him, he was trying to get. And the third goal was a great finish from Abada, but I think the majority of credit for me goes to Greg Taylor on that.
Yeah, Mark, I see your brother's in the comments and he's saying that Ross County lost out on a lot of money they could have made yesterday by putting the game on pay-per-view. I thought it was a disgrace. I think it's a disgrace for this country that someone in Japan yesterday was watching the game on Japanese TV because they chose to show Celtic versus Ross County, but somebody in the country where the game is can't watch it. I think it's a disgrace.
But it's no surprising, Reegan. I mean, the guys who run this shit show are just a mess. You know what I mean, they're just as much to blame as anybody. I know Sky is the convenient scapegoat here, but no, really, Sky hold most of the cards, but they don't hold all the cards. Our FA to make the final decision on when the games are played, etc. I mean, Sky don't tell Celtic and Ross County when to play. The SFA do, or the SPFL do. So the fact that we didn't view that game on Sky is, I think, it's more down to the fact that we've not got a backbone up at board level in Scotland. You know what I mean? There should have been. I mean, this was reported about 2 weeks ago that this game wasn't going to be on Sky. So why wasn't a pay-per-view service set up? Because there is ways around this, because it's happened before, and I think you pay a fine. So there is ways to get around this. So it just begs the question: what was done by the clubs and the SPFL to make this happen? And it sounds to me like not a lot.
Well, Mark, the big problem for me is that, all right, the Ross County game yesterday wasn't on, right? But we've still got another 38 games to go, and I believe that Celtic fans will probably miss out on about 11 away games this season, because they'll probably only show you the Aberdeen game away, the Hearts game away, and the Rangers game away. That'll be the only games that they'll probably show you, because if you look at it from Sky's point of view, Sky are trying at the moment to show as many games as possible. But if you look at it last year, Celtic's away trip to Aberdeen, Celtic's away trip to Easter Road, Celtic's away trip to Dundee United, they were all on the pay-per-view service. And like, that wasn't because of COVID, that was because Sky didn't choose it. So we only got that option because of COVID and lockdowns. So because we're not in COVID lockdowns anymore, now we're seeing the fruits of how bad this TV deal is. Matt, do you not agree with that?
Oh, you're spot on, mate. And I think Sky have been pushing the Rangers to their subscribers for a while now. I think when Steven Gerrard came, Sky went all out on the English market. They went, because even Sky's reporting on anything Rangers when Steven Gerrard was there was Scottish football with Steven Gerrard. You know what I mean? And I think last season when they set the fixtures out, I think they've set them out with that in mind. I think they'll try to sell it to. They find Scottish football a hard sell, to be quite honest with you. I think they would just happily just do a deal to have the 4 derby matches. I think they would happily just do that. I think they find paying Andy Walker to go up there and commentate on Ross County v Dundee, they find that as a nuisance, to be quite honest with you, mate. I think they want the 4 derby matches and that's that. And you're right, I think there was something like 5 or 6 minimum pay-per-view matches last season that I had to pay to watch, and so did others. And you're right, the reason why that happened is because Sky decided not to show them. It wasn't because the club stepped in and asked for this. So I would like to see what games exactly have been set out on Sky's schedule, and see if there's going to be another 3, 4, 5 games like yesterday happening. And I really don't think that's acceptable for the Celtic support. And I can't be listening to the games on radio or try to find dodgy links, mate. That's just not for me. And it's unless you've got a membership to the hospitality section or know a good supporters bus, you're not going to get tickets for away matches. I find it very hard to get tickets for away matches, and people tell you, if you pay for Kilmarnock on a Tuesday night, then you get Easter Road. No, supporters buses have got 30 tickets, and Tom, Dick, and Harry buy them. You know what I mean? They're not interested. Like, guys just don't go to Dundee on a Tuesday night or whatever. They keep their point system, their criteria built up, so they get to go to Easter Road, Tynecastle, Pittodrie. They don't go to the matches. The buses will get 15, 20 tickets from their client reference number, and they will. If they don't want to go, they'll get back to the bus, and the bus will sell it to anybody. I mean, so that's utter nonsense. I'd probably say about 60% of the away support is season ticket holders. The other 40% is guys that have just their pals get too spare, and they go to a supporters bus and pick up tickets, and that's not fair for the likes of me, who's paying their money up front and trying their best to get to away matches, and whether you can go to a supporters bus and just pick and choose what matches you can go to. That's ridiculous. You buy a season ticket, you should have first dibs on away tickets. You know what I mean? And if you're a season ticket holder and you can't go, that's fine. But see if your plan is to no go to maybe half the games and just sell the other half so that your criteria gets built up, that's not fair on the likes of me that could buy it. I'm not saying that you should have to present your season ticket to an away match with your match ticket. I'm not saying being as harsh as that. I think there should be a rule that you can't mass buy these and just dish them out to Tom, Dick, and Harry, because that's not fair, mate. Because you're lucky if, as I say, 6 out of 10 people that go to these matches have actually got them through the right channels.
Mark, I just want to bring you to a newspaper article that Neil Doncaster did during the week. Now he's basically saying if anybody's streaming a game, that he wants people to go into pubs and check the pub to make sure they're not streaming the game. I think that's a disgrace for a CEO of a big organisation to want to stop restriction of trade. Matt, me and you spoke about this lots of times on this podcast. I think we're the only podcast that shines a light on it. But I think if we're to be honest, Matt, right? Why is Neil Doncaster wanting to stop fans watching the game? Surely there could have been an easier way for people to watch it. I mean, obviously.
I suppose, mate, he's got to be seen to be the speaking on behalf of the corporate fucking entity that is the SPFL. You know what I mean? He's got to be seen to be the guy that's speaking in a legal manner. You know what I mean? I mean, his language was terrible. His language was saying that they were cracking down on illegal streams. I mean, if you expect some guy to walk into a pub like, I don't know, a busy Celtic pub or Rangers pub and ask the barman behind the bar if he's got a license to show that match, the guy won't leave the pub with all his teeth intact. You know what I mean? Is that for real? As if this cunt who lives in a fantasy land, as if he would walk into a pub and do that. He may walk into like some swanky restaurant and ask to see the health and safety certificate, but nobody else would do something stupid like that. You know what I mean? You get your ass kicked. You know what I mean? And
you would.
I don't know, mate. These guys don't live in the same Scotland we do, mate. They live in a different land, mate, where everything's handed to them. Doors are always open for them. It's a cost of living crisis, mate, and we're all just worried about the next inflation figure that's coming out and what the next set of bills are going to come in October. And to suggest that people are criminals or they're fare dodgers by trying to see a match is just disgusting. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why the guy probably didn't have to say the thing in the first place. So his language was terrible. But the fact that he chose to speak about it is just as bad, because he could have just ignored the issue.
Mark, I think especially in an age where you've got Amazon Prime, Netflix, you've got Apple TV, you've got Fire Sticks, you've got all of these things where, see, if you want to watch a film or a TV show, it's readily available. That's the way football should be there, Mark. I'm sorry, we're not living in 2007 where you're watching 2 games on Sky and you're thinking, oh, this is fantastic, 2 games a week. You've got like 6 English Premier League games this weekend alone on Sky Sports. 6. I mean, you'd be lucky to see one game on Scottish Premiership a weekend. But yep, I just want to bring in some comments. We've got Phil McGinley. He pops in to say he didn't have to endure the drama yesterday because it was his birthday. And I hope, Phil, you had a great day, mate, because you've been a big part of this bus, and it's so good to have you on, mate. We've got somebody on here saying they stood at Ross County trying to get a ticket, but he's still on the waiting list, and it could take years.
Well, this is what happens, mate. You know what I mean? But see, the thing is, if you went to on Twitter, there's a Celtic Spurs page. It's pretty good, and you normally see folk selling tickets, so it's pretty good for that. And good luck to them all. Hopefully, anybody who wants to travel up there got a ticket. I feel sorry for anybody that did that. It's a long journey, unless he stays closer. That is, but this is the thing, mate. You know what I mean? I don't want to labour the point too much. You know what I mean? I think the ticket system's flawed at Celtic Park. I mean, I find it very hard to get away tickets now, and as I pay my money up front, the same as everybody else. You know what I mean? I'm shelling at £700 before the ball's even kicked, just to get to Celtic matches, and there's folk buying 2 and 3. You know what I mean? So they're a lot worse off than me. And unless you're part of a supporters bus, or you're buying tickets for the last 20 years and just selling them on, and then just building up your criteria, that's not always the case, but a lot of folk just do that. You know what I mean? Like, I know for a fact there's 2 or 3 guys. I know for a fact that if I text them, they'd be able to get me a ticket for the next away match. I mean, I'm pretty sure about that. In fact, I'm positive about that. You know what I mean? And that's because somebody's criteria is probably sitting in their house, probably out at a party all night, getting mad with it, waking up 10 minutes before the game starts, and they can just turn the telly on and watch it. And but when it comes to Tynecastle, Pittodrie, Easter Road, you know what I mean? They'll get the tickets, no bother, because on paper they've attended every match.
Yeah, Mark, I just want to ask you, because I think it's your brother who's in the comments, and he's basically saying that if you look at Spanish football's got a TV setup, but every single game is shown on a Spanish football channel. Surely that's something that the SPFL should adopt, a Scottish football channel.
Well, they tried it in 2003 or 2004, SPFL
I know that,
TV, and they made an utter arse of it. In fact, the deal was actually looking good until, who was it? He never come back to me. He attended a meeting with ESPN, or whoever it was, and it had been leaked out to him that
Robert Mitchell, was it Robert Mitchell, somebody like that?
Roger Mitchell.
Somebody Mitchell, aye.
I think it was Roger Mitchell. He turned in, and basically during the meeting, I think it was kind of divulged to him that his plans that he was doing kind of underhand were already out in the open, and he get caught trying to negotiate better deals, and I think it fucked it up. Basically, I think it would have paid a lot of money for the teams in Scotland. I actually think the deal that he was looking for back then was probably on par to what we're getting just now, or even more. And that was nearly 20 years ago. So it just shows you how good it could have been for Scotland. But I don't think, Celtic, I really don't think Celtic need the £2 million a year Sky deal. What Celtic need is the exposure for their brand. They need Adidas to know that their games are going to be getting showcased by a company like Sky, and broadcast to every country in the world, whether people watch it or no. When you're selling your product to somebody, you're available for anybody to watch the world. It helps boost how much money you can take after these companies. You know what I mean? And
see, I'm just thinking that, right? So Celtic made £40 million in the Champions League. So surely this season, if they know that 12 of their away games, say for instance, right, say 12 of their away games is not going to be shown in Sky, surely they could pay that. They could pay way around it because they've got £40 million in the bank.
Mate, see if Celtic, I'm going to tell you something. See, Celtic were handed a £400 million cheque this morning and told there was no caveats to it. It's there to spend what they want. I can assure you, mate, they would not consider paying fines so that me and you could watch the match. In fact, they'd probably use the money to launch a new campaign to get more money from me and you. You know what I mean? And they certainly wouldn't be buying players with it either. I can tell you that for nothing. So £40 million the Champions League. We've already seen that that's gone on free transfers that are in Moy. So any idea that they could pay the fine, or they would pay a fine, because I think they find something like $200,000. It's not a lot of money. They'd lose money from it, but what they would do is it would be excellent. I mean, what a statement that would be to the fans, where Celtic would come and say, "Look, we've spoken to this guy, we've paid the fine. We want our loyal fan base who stuck by us through COVID, paid for season tickets. We want them to know that our priority was you getting to see the team." That'd be excellent PR for the club, but unfortunately, mate, we've discovered a long time ago that as club are only interested in the money coming in and no anything else.
Yeah, I wanted to go on to more positive stuff, and that was
go for it.
And that was Jota. I thought Jota was great yesterday. I managed to see the majority of the game. I thought he was great. I really did.
Well, mate, I think he's kicked on from last season. I thought even pre-season you could see he had a wee spring in his step. I think it was this ridiculous notion that his head was down after they got injured and he was in Benfica trying to get back to fitness. No, he was just recovering from illness, recovering from injury. That does affect your form. This season he's just, I know it's only been 2 games, right, but he's been electric on both games. Like, I mean, the first goal, I mean, his wee touch to go by the defender was classic, but see, it was out in the byline. His footwork was excellent. He done 2 wee shimmies and then passed the ball to Carl McGregor, who slid him through. But that was excellent footwork, and even to get the ball by that defender was like great balance. You know what I mean? His technique was there, but most players would fall down at that stage. But his balance was perfect, and he squared it across. And to go to an away match like Ross County, with a wee small pitch against a defence like that, and have 3 assists from the left-hand side is unbelievable. Because I don't think the games suit wingers. I think they suit kind of overlaps or somebody who can dig for 20 yards. So he was outstanding yesterday. I mean, the only thing missing was a goal, but he had a shot in the first half that got deflected. That took the sting off it. But I think that was good in, and the keeper was stranded. I think it was going in the bottom corner.
Aye. See, there's a good point being made here in the comments, Mark, and it's saying for the first time in Jota's time, he finally knows where he's going to be playing every week, and he knows that he's found a brand new home, and I tend to agree with that, because see, when you're a loan player, it must be difficult knowing that you're there for 1 year and then you see what happens. But I think Jota's settled now. He knows he's playing with Celtic. He's got Ange Postecoglou as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, I think he's going to go from strength to strength, and I think a great season for the Celtic supporters.
Well, definitely, that must play on your head, because they're still human beings, mate, you know what I mean? So I dare say that when he signed that contract full-time, it just relaxed him. I think that's why he had that long holiday. I think he knew the contract was getting signed before he even left to go on his wee jolly around the world. He was like Phileas Fogg at one point. He was going everywhere. But I think he kind of felt relaxed about that, and that will affect your football. That affects your performance. I dare say that he's probably got a house sorted now, so he's probably more comfortable rather than living like in a flat or a hotel or wherever he's staying.
He must have
more comfortable.
He must have known he was getting a good payday if he was going on like 4 holidays, Mark. Because I know I couldn't afford to go on 4 holidays.
I think what happens at the end of the season, that's when your performance bonuses kick in. I don't think you get them every week. I think they calculate your bonuses at the end of the season. So he's maybe come into a wee
spent it on that.
A wee nest egg on that, mate. And fuck, next time you can take me with him.
Right, Mark. Well, obviously people see the scoreline and they'll say Celtic 3-1. And I was being a bit sarcastic earlier when I was saying that the BBC said a negative headline, but it was a little bit worrying, Matt. We have 9 minutes to go when Celtic were still 1-1. And to me, I just think we're lacking that Tom Rogic kind of player to open up a defence. See Ross County, right? Ross County were sitting back, putting men behind the ball, and it was let's just say it was pretty boring to watch. They were putting men behind the ball. We'd just break it down. But I think we're missing that. I don't know. Someone to open up a defence and put in a great ball. I just think we're missing something like that. Obviously, we've got it that way, Jota, but I think we're still missing that wee icing on the cake, Mark.
Oh, definitely. We've not replaced Tom Rogic, mate. That's a fact. You know what I mean? The thought of him going to Cyprus to work with Neil Lennon just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I think that's a shame for that guy's career, but
this
that's
is
another story.
This is Neil Lennon that wanted Tom Rogic away from Celtic, remember?
Oh, what that guy does in between a bottle of Jack Daniels is just the decisions he makes is just crazy. But anyway, I think yesterday it was looking for that somebody just to break through the lines, wasn't it? That wee bit of trick, and that's why it doesn't surprise you that it was Callum McGregor and Jota show. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you got that guys with just that next level ability. They can break through these teams. It's no surprise to me that the 2 winning goals came so late, because Celtic's fitness is at a different level for these teams, you know what I mean? And I think the stats last year showed that Celtic score a lot of late goals. Teams don't start with the same intensity as with at the end of the match. I mean, I know that's fairly obvious, but Celtic are up their game with their fitness levels. This maybe the last
Mark, we've got a comment
year.
coming in, and somebody's saying, "What do you make of this? Because we played 4-4-2 yesterday, and it seemed to work, and we should play this more often throughout the season."
I've always wanted to see Celtic play 2 strikers. I think Celtic have been traditionally a 2-striker team. It doesn't mean you've got to have 2 out-and-out strikers on the park. You've got a forward and a striker really good for me. Like, I think Giakoumakis and Kyogo would work for me. But I don't know if it loses a wee bit of creativity when you do that, mate. You know what I mean? I think if you're wanting McGregor and 2 others, i.e. Hatate and O'Reilly for me, and then you're also wanting wingers, you can't have it both ways, mate. You know what I mean? You're going to have to have a wee bit of give and go here. There's got to be a trade-off. So for me, I think Jota is too important to not play. I think Abada has shown pre-season and his goal yesterday that he should be starting from now on.
Right.
So it doesn't leave a lot. You've only got 11 men in the park, and I can't see him deviating for the 4 at the back.
No,
I think he sees McGregor as a 6 and an 8. You know what I mean? I don't think he likes to have a sitting midfielder as such. So there's no give there either. So I think, as much as I want to see 2 up front, I really do. I think Celtic need to create more. I think that the last 10 minutes, mate, was just about getting a goal, when it was just a case of the more goal scorers I leave on the park, the more chance I've got of getting a goal.
Mark, I was listening to Clyde yesterday, and a few folk were saying that Celtic should be going for a striker. Do you agree with that? Because for me, I think Kyogo's not a number 9, Mark. I don't know how to describe him. He's more like a kind of wide forward, but he kind of goes in. I don't think he's your number 9, as everybody makes out.
No.
I mean, Kyogo's he's a fantastic player, but Giakoumakis is your typical number 9, right? And people was on here last season when I said Maeda, but Maeda is, I don't know how the guy scored 30 goals in Japan, but I just think, I don't think he's that clinical in front of goal, and I think we're missing that. We're missing that clinical striker. Giakoumakis came on yesterday, done very well. I managed to see the game, but I think we're still needing a striker.
Well, I think you'd be pretty naive to think that Kyogo and Giakoumakis are going to go through this season without being injured. You'd have to be borderline stupid, mate, to be quite honest with you. So I think if you're back up for, even if you've got one striker available at all times, you're still going to have to need a replacement of some sort, or at least a second option on the bench. And if that's Maeda going through the middle, then no for me. If that's a Yeti, then that's a no for me. And I know Abada can play through there, but that's just slotting square pegs into round holes. Celtic for years now have been signing players that can play in 3 different positions at a competent level. Let's just start to look at a way of getting players that excel in their own positions, rather than seeing players that can play another position. For me, Celtic need another striker. I think we should, if you can't sell a Yeti or get rid of a Yeti, I understand that leaves a wee bit of dent on the finances, but we've got the money to do it. I think we need a striker, because the thought of Maeda, although he did carry on pretty well last year, the thought of Maeda being our title hopes, if we get bad injuries in the worst case scenario, will just scares the life out of me. We need somebody else who can score 15, 20 goals at this league. And Maeda, I think he made like 10 goals last season. I can't remember how many goals he got. He's got a decent record. And he scored like 30 goals in Japan. I actually can't believe that. When I see him play, it just looks to me like his main attributes is he's a pest. He tackles anything that moves, he tackles it. But his actual footballing ability is I've got question marks on that side of these games, but he's a pest and I like the guy.
Yep.
I feel like he's one of my favourite players that way. But when you take that aside, you look at his football ability, there's serious questions there, mate. And whether you like him or no, there's questions about his ability.
Sorry, Mark, what we do in the bus is we bring in the comments from the viewers. So I'm going
Of
to do
course.
as much as I can. So we've got Charles Smith says, Mark, what do you think about the Celtic having the option to bring on 5 people from the bench? Do you think that'll do well for us through the season?
Well, anybody that's got a big squad with a certain level of standard is going to get the benefits from 5 subs. You know what I mean? It gives the manager 5 options. I think when you're looking at a bench and you're seeing there's a couple of strikers on the bench and there's midfielders that can change a game, and you get an extra 2 players you can bring on, that's only going to benefit like the Celtic. I think when you look at the EPL, I think the standards down there is really high, but what you find is the bigger and better squads, they're beginning to pull away a lot faster when it's getting tighter, you know what I mean? And that's why you see a lot of late goals. Teams like Celtic is because of their fitness levels, but also their ability levels. If you've made 3 subs with 20 minutes to go or 15 minutes to go, and there's no other options, it creates a wee bit of comfort level for the other team. You know what I mean? But if you're bringing on somebody with the ability of Giakoumakis as an extra striker to complement the 3 subs you've already made, that's excellent for Celtic and teams like that.
Mark, I can't believe somebody's agreed with me. Brown Warrior says Reegan is spot on, but Giakoumakis is a genuine number 9 and Kyogo's not. You see, Kyogo is a Stokes player rather than a hooper.
I thought he reminds me a bit like Scott McDonald, except with actual class ability. Scott McDonald was a good player. He's a good player for Celtic, but I think Kyogo is very classy. I think Kyogo is a level above that. Scott McDonald was a good striker. He scored against Man U. I think he might have scored against AC Milan. So the guys definitely got ability, but Kyogo is a level above that. If I'm being honest with you, he's got class ability. No offence to Scott McDonald because he was good for Celtic, but that's who he reminds me of. Like somebody who can run in behind the defence, but even though he misses a lot, he's quite composed.
Send us in more of your comments and we'll definitely read them out. So I just want to ask you now, Mark, about the fact that I think Celtic's number 1 goalkeeper definitely had a brilliant save yesterday. And what a save that was at 1-1.
That was an outstanding save, mate. That was probably Joe Hart at his peak.
Unbelievable.
His career, making a save like that. That was outstanding. There's actually there's a camera view I've seen that it's basically the same kind of view he'd have.
Aye.
And his actions were instant, you know what I mean? He get out of that so fast.
It's unbelievable.
The goal we scored, he didn't move fast enough, but it's because he was expecting the player in front of him to take a touch.
He was expecting Kyogo to move as well.
I can't blame him for that. I think it shouldn't have got as far as him. I think the defending for the cross was pretty poor as well, to be quite honest with you. And I think we've noticed that that problem's still there with Celtic. You know what I mean? But his save was outstanding. I mean, I think it's been went unnoticed. I know there's a wee bit of traction on Celtic Twitter, but it didn't even get much praise on the radio yesterday. It didn't even get spoke much about the highlights last night. It was world class, mate. It was a world class
I think Terry should speak about it since he loves Packy Bonner. He should speak about it, Mark. But yeah, I mean, what a save it was for Joe Hart. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, I know people were a bit doubted when he moved to Celtic, but I think what what a signing he's been, Mark. What a signing.
I liked him for very early on in his career at Celtic. You know what I mean? He speaks so well about the club. You know what I mean? He promotes the club really well as well. And he's, I said before, he's like a second captain on the park. I think if we didn't have somebody with the composure and the ability of Callum McGregor, he'd be a captain for me. You know what I mean? I watch him quite a lot during the matches, and he's always speaking to the hands. He's always speaking to the defenders. There was a point yesterday when he ran out and he kind of pushed one of the Ross County strikers right out of the way. And I think he's noticed something. I think he's noticed what this guy, wee bit of argy-bargy with one of their players, and one of their players haven't reacted to it, and he's thought, I'm going to use my experience here to run through him and make it look like an accident, you know what I mean? And that's what he brings to you. He just brings that experience. I mean, that time Starfelt got sent off last year at Ross County. I mean, Hart was telling him to shut the fuck up. He was just telling him, shut up, walk away. And Starfelt didn't listen and ended up getting a yellow card, which led to his second red, the yellow. And he brings that experience to the park, you know what I mean?
I know Celtic fans are not really talking about it right now, but if that goal goes in, it's a totally different complexion in the game. Celtic are scrapping to get a point with 9 minutes to go, and then it's totally different.
I mean, that's the small moments that make up your season, you know what I mean? And these moments can happen at the end of the season, or they can happen at the beginning of the season, but the narrative and the positivity can quickly change if you lose that match 2-1, or even a draw at Celtic is a defeat. So that's when Hart stepped up and he showed why he's so key for Celtic. And there is talk of Seagrass, but I think Seagrass is going to be a longer term number one at Celtic. And if worst case scenario for Hart, that pushes him onto it refocuses him and pushes him onto another level at Celtic. That's good for me and you. And I'd be watching that we've got two keepers that are more than able of stepping in and performing at a level that Celtic fans accept.
Mark, I want to bring this comment in because somebody's saying that they served Scott McDonald in Darlington when he was playing for Middlesbrough. So thank you for watching. Ian, I know you're a Darlington fan, but thank you for saying that you served Scott McDonald in home base in Darlington. We've also got somebody else saying, Mark, what did you make of the big German defender's debut yesterday?
Oh, as I say, I only saw about 50 minutes all in, but he looked composed to me. I like his passing, but I also love his tackling. He gave away a free kick on the edge of the box in the second half, and I thought it was a good foul. I thought he timed his mistake well. I think he knew what he was doing. I think if he one more step and that's inside the box, I think he did that pretty well. His header was just almost like Julian style. I know it sounds lazy, kind of he compliment the guy by similarities with Julian because the two of them are quite tall and have got the same kind of physique, but it does remind me of him. But just I think it looks a better player, to be honest with you, so far. And his header was a wee glancing header. It was beautiful, similar to the technique that Stephen Welsh used last week. He picked his corner. This guy just picked a spot and he placed it with a lot of power past the keeper. The keeper couldn't have got to it unless he was really on the ball there. And I thought it was excellent. And anyway, at full time and all, when he came out and said it was the best part of his career, that's great. That's the sort of shit you like to hear as a Celtic fan. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just birthday card stuff. I think the guy probably believes it, but he also knows what he's doing. His press conference when he signed, he was asked, "Do you want to stay here?" And the go-to answer for anybody, the default answer is, "I'm here just to play football and I'll take care of itself." He said, "No, I want to sign here full time. I'm here to get a contract," and that's dangerous because if he went back to his other team, the fans will remember that. But the guy's got confidence in his ability. He's confident that he can push his way into the team. And I'm with you. I think Starfelt and Jens are going to fight out for the shirt this season. I know Welsh scored a goal last week, but that was just that's just a goal every 9 months doesn't get you a Celtic start. I'm sorry to say, you got to have a bit of ability as well. You know what I mean, or a certain level of ability. And for what I've seen for Jens, he just looks like a Mercedes Benz, and I think Stephen Welsh looks like a Skoda Octavia.
Fair enough, Mark. We've got David Bradley who says, Reegan, I must say, Greg Taylor's been class.
Mm-hmm. He's right.
And I tend to agree with that, Mark. And I think it's the thing that me and you spoke about a few months back. See, Celtic, the most important thing for a club like Celtic is to proper competition. See, since Greg Taylor's in proper competition from the start of May, he's went up a level.
I totally agree with you, and I actually felt like the turn of the year last year, this year, he's actually upped his level. I mean, he's actually shown a wee bit of skill. He's doing wee drag backs and he's cutting in, he's cutting out, he's doing wee chicanes by players and things like that. His ability is actually improved, and he's fairly young. I think he's in his mid-20s, maybe 23,
I'll
24.
say 24, I think it was something like that.
So that's not old. He's got a lot of development left
No.
in him, you know what I mean? And under Ange, I'm sure any player can get better. And Bernabei, I mean, it just goes to show you the level in what Bernabei actually is, that even anybody's considered dropping Greg Taylor, because see, pre-season there, almost every Celtic fan I was speaking to was of the opinion that Greg Taylor's performed excellent, but we have to look to upgrade him. And we've signed a £3.5 million player for Argentina, and that I don't know anybody that would suggest that Greg Taylor should be moved out of his position. Greg Taylor's got, as far as I'm concerned, until we buy somebody who you just can't leave out the team, Greg Taylor's my number one left back.
Mark, what do you make of this comment from your brother saying that Greg Taylor is the most improved player under Ange Postecoglou?
Oh, I think he's trying to annoy me there. He knows it's Ralston. He's just trying to annoy me. Ralston for me, but Greg Taylor isn't that far behind him. I mean, it's almost the job that Rodgers did with guys like Brown and McGregor and James Forrest, guys who were kind of splitting the fan base a wee bit, you know what I mean? And Greg Taylor did split the fan base. There was folk that said he done a competent job, then there was folk that just said, like, this guy's nowhere near it. I was in the middle. I always felt the guy gave you at least a certain level every week, you know what I mean? His biggest problem for me was he wasn't getting by a player. He was getting to his first man. He was tracking back straight away. And that's out his game now. He's taking players on. He's running. He's overlapping. He's inverting. All the things that Ange wants him to do. But I think Ryan's wrong. I think there's no way that he's just trying to annoy me. I think Anthony Ralston's by far the most improved player. And in fact, I'll go as far as to say Ralston's probably one of the key members of the squad.
I totally agree with you. So there you go. You and your brother can talk about it on the phone later. But I want to ask you this question that's coming in now, and it's from Jim Dolan. Jim saying that we are too harsh on Stephen Welsh. Now, Jim, I get that last week we said that Welsh wasn't a Celtic centre-back, and then he goes on to score after 2 minutes. But I think it just shows you, Jim, that as soon as Jens is available, Jens then plays over Stephen Welsh.
I think he was playing. I think I heard he may have an illness, but listen, there's no base Welsh's inclusion. The fact that he scored a goal after 2 minutes last week. I mean, we saw his performances last season. If people forgetting how bad he played when he came on at Hampden, you know what I mean, against Rangers. People forgetting how poorly he's performed. Yeah, see, when I say he's red rotten and you're better with Raquel Welsh, I'm just trying to inject a wee bit of humour. It may not be funny, but I'm just trying to inject a wee bit of humour into it. I don't actually think you'd be better with Raquel Welsh or Urban Welsh. Steve Welsh. You guys obviously got good ability, but if Stephen Welsh is Celtic's centre back quality, then my expectations for Celtic and other folks' expectations for Celtic who would like him in are totally different, in my opinion. But he performed well for 2 minutes last week. I'll give him that.
Mark, so see what we do in the bus? We bring in the comments that nobody else would bring in. So we've got another comment here. And somebody's saying, what else does Welsh need to do then? Well, what I would say back to that comment is, I think that we are very fair. Like, we've had some great players come through the Celtic Academy, but I just don't think Stephen Welsh is a starting centre back for Celtic. I really don't.
Well, for me, I think what Welsh has to do is, one, keep his eye on the ball, not let the ball bounce over the top of his shoulder, which is page one, day one of a defender's training, is you'd never let a ball bounce over your shoulder. I think his tackling's pretty poor. I think he can't jump. I don't think he's good in Celtic's box when there's a corner coming in. He's constantly losing his man. He looks left and looks right before he runs. His passing is very laboured. You know, he passes the easy option every time. I think he's trying his best to be a Celtic player, and I think he'd be a good squad player for Celtic. And I'm not trying to like, totally belittle the guy, Welsh, because he's done a good job relatively, but you don't base his inclusion in the Celtic team and say what more does he have to do based on a cameo last week where they scored a goal. In fact, the first half changed. You maybe watch the full 90 minutes back. It's on Sky, you can watch it. The first half changed in the 30th minute or so when Stephen Welsh let somebody in behind him and into the Celtic box, created a small chance, and Aberdeen took the next 15 minutes of the half because they got that wee moment of that they got in the box and they put doubt in the Celtic defenders' heads, etc., etc. And then before you know it, Johnny Hayes has got a chance to score. These wee small matters make a difference. I mean, I think if Stephen Welsh is the standard at Celtic, I really need to take some beta blockers because I couldn't watch him play for Celtic against the likes of Rangers and the Hearts and all that. No chance. I just can't think of that, mate. Honestly, he's Darren O'Day level.
Mark, what we do on the bus is we bring every comment that comes in and we bring it up. So we've got Bob McBob, who's a Rangers fan. He's comparing Stephen Welsh to Kurt Broadfoot.
Well, Kurt Broadfoot played in the European final, so at least he's got that in his CV, you know what I mean? I wouldn't ask the guy to make me a boiled egg in a microwave right enough, because he nearly blew his face off doing that, didn't he? No, to be honest with you, I think Kurt Broadfoot gets a bit of slagging because the Scotland manager said that he had limited ability. To be honest with you, Stephen Welsh has got limited ability as well, and I think people just make up their own mind on the narrative week by week. I think every Celtic fan has got reservations on Stephen Welsh.
Yep, we've got a brilliant comment coming in for your brother who wants to debate this with everybody in the bus. So he's basically saying that Tony Ralston was doubted last year. Everybody wanted him to go, but Ange kept him, Ange developed him, and now he's one of the best players. Surely we're being a bit too harsh, and Ange could develop Stephen Welsh.
Well, if anybody can do it, I think Ange would be the man to do it, and absolutely. I mean, if anybody had asked the opinion on Ralston, I'm sure the opinion would be a lot harsher than what I'm giving on Welsh. So I think if you trust anybody to develop a player, I think one thing that Ange has proven is he can make a player go to a level that they probably don't even know they can go to. So I agree with him. I mean, and to tell you something, nobody would be more happier if Welsh plays 30 games this season and turns in 20 man of the match performances and scores a winner at Ibrox.
No,
nobody more delighted than me. I mean, I'll be delighted, mate. I just, looking at who's available, Julian, Jens, Starfelt and Welsh for the second centre-back, I think he's fourth choice there. Julian's going to go, I think, but if it was just down to ability, I think Welsh is at the bottom of that order.
Yep. Mark, we've got another comment coming in saying that, Mark, I think you're forgetting that Stephen Welsh played it right back against Rangers at Hampden.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I totally understand that, but I'm not trying to say the guy played rotten because of the position he's playing in. I'm just trying to say that's the performances he's putting in. That was just something I plucked out the air. You know, I mean, he's had loads of performances that he's been really poor. You know, I mean, he did play right back that day, but don't forget these are the same people that were criticising Callum McGregor's performance at Ibrox when Rodgers played Callum McGregor at left back. Yep. You know what I mean, I'm not saying that the guy makes mistakes left, right, and centre, but he's positional in the part. He doesn't judge a flight of a ball. He's always looking left and right before he runs. He's always checked to see who's offside before he runs. I mean, I hope these guys don't get their wish and we see Stephen Welsh play 20 games for Celtic this season. I really, really don't, because if we do see Stephen Welsh play 20 games for Celtic this year in the league, then I think the consequence is going to be a lot harsher than what I'm going to say on here. And
might you say that Ange agrees with me, Mark, that the first opportunity to get Stephen Welsh is not in the team?
Oh, listen, one thing, Ange is a lot better knowledge of football than me and you, mate, or anybody in the comments. if you asked Ange, in fact, if Stephen Welsh asked Ange where he is in the pecking order, I think he would get the answer very bluntly. You're a squad player, you won't be starting many games, and you'll probably be used as almost an emergency player, because there's no way if we're playing Rangers next week, he's got to look at his defence and say, who am I slotting in here? Because Welsh won't even consideration unless there's injuries. Welsh won't even be considered unless there's injuries. And whereas Giakoumakis will be considered, whereas I think Ralston's considered, I think Bernaby's probably not considered, but there's players that'll be considered for certain games, and Welsh won't be considered for any game unless it's an emergency or a League Cup game at home. You just see Rafe Rovers, you might see him get a game. A guy won't be considered, and I will say that categorically. And if that's Angie's decision, then I'll back Angie on that.
Mark, people like us are football fans, and I was watching the Dundee United game the other night, and I'm saying, see the wee guy in the midfield? I think it's Dylan Levitt. Dylan, you know, I think Celtic should track him the next year again, because I think there's a little bit of quality, and for him to be only 20 years of age, I think we can make a lot of money on him as well.
He's class, mate, isn't he? I mean, Celtic should buy him and then loan him back to Dundee United straight away. Buy him the new.
Because he's been through the Manchester United academy, and you can just see he's got a bit of class about him. For only 20 years of age, he's got so much development, and he played against AZ Alkmaar, and he was man of the match.
He was outstanding that match. I've seen his wee back flick, two wee flicks, and he was brilliant that match. My other brother Adam, he'd said that this boy's class, and I was watching him.
Yes.
Yeah, he is actually quite classy. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the flesh at Celtic Park to see what he's like, because it looked to me like, I mean, that was a big game for a young boy like to walk into. I mean, that's a lot of, there's eyes on you, and he just looked like he didn't even care. He looked like he was just there kicking the ball about the park with his mates. I don't think he was pressured. So I want to see him play a big, massive pitch at Celtic Park and have all that space. And I think it caused us some problems. You know what I mean? Not just us, Rangers
will.
And there'll be one to watch. I think you'll see his name pop up quite a lot on the post-match analysis on like Sports Scene and things like that. You'll see his name pop up quite a lot. And I think Dundee United might just see him for one season. Is he signed full-time? Is he on loan?
He's signed full-time now.
I think their fans might just see him for 1 year, mate, to be quite honest with you, and they might make a wee bit of profit on him.
Definitely. Because I think the thing was, he scored a great goal last week at Rugby Park as well. I mean, 25-yard screamer. I think he's just got a bit of class about him. And I think, obviously, Celtic's got a good track record of going to Inverness, Dundee United, and getting the best players such as Stuart Armstrong and Ryan Christie and people like that. Because I think it's about time. See, when you see a talent in Scotland, I think it's about time we go and pay the right money. See, with John McGinn, we didn't pay the right money, and we backfired. But I'm telling you right now, if we miss out on this guy, then we're I think it's criminal that we're missing out. I just wanted to ask you, Mark, because I think that now for this transfer window, I know people are saying they bring in one more player, but I think if you're Celtic, I think you're bringing in at least another 3 players, because you're probably going to get rid of Mikey Johnson, McCarthy. You've got rid of Beaton. You've got rid of Rogic. That's 4 players you get rid of, and you can't just bring in one player to supplement that.
I think we've lost 14 players or 16 players and brought in 6 or 4. Brought in 6 and rid of 14 or whatever it is. So, and I think a lot of them are players that you would never see playing for Celtic, to be fair, but you still need numbers. And I think if you're going to, McCarthy's viewed as a first-team squad player, so you got to replace that at least. You know what I mean? I think Beaton was a centre-back / midfielder, so you got to replace at least one of his positions. I don't think Moy is that player, to be honest with you. He runs on treacle, that guy. I just don't know why we signed him.
Moy popped on yesterday when we get that 2-1, when we go 2-1 up. And
how do they play?
It just looks like a kind of steady Eddie. I don't know. It just looks steady.
See when Kevin Kyle played for Rangers, my other brother, he said to me, he watched the match and he said it looked like somebody who'd come back for a testimonial match. And see when he came on last week against Aberdeen, that's what just reminded me of somebody who played like a testimonial match. He was running on quicksand. He's probably quite tidy. I mean, I hope the guy fucking goes on to another level and he just has to get his fitness up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope that's just the case, but he's not going to be the answer for Celtic, so we have to sign somebody. I think we need a striker, I think we need a midfielder, and also somebody to come in and replace Roderick. So I think we need 3 players as well, but we're not going to see it. We might get somebody on loan. I'm going to say either maybe Man City. I'm just trying. The 2 Lawwells will get somebody for Man City. Or we'll get a loan for Man City. I'm going to predict that.
I think we'll get a loan for Man City in the last day of the window.
Aye.
But I did think it was good to see yesterday that a few of ex-Celtic players going down to the Premier League and doing so well, Matt, because it shows that if Celtic develop players up here, then they can go down and they can make the club a fortune down there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, I think Celtic have created this kind of pathway for players now. They're maybe taking a wee step back from making the big jump to the lower level teams in England. So they've maybe got to Celtic instead to showcase their talents, to get a better move to a better club. No, not a better club in Celtic, but a better environment for them, you know what I mean? And I think that's what Celtic are offering the teams. And I think one thing about Celtic is they like that. They like that mould, you know. They like to be that team that's going to get 2 years out of a player, and that might be the case for us going forward and for managers too. I mean, I don't mind if you're going to get like the next level of manager who's going to beat us for 2 years, 3 years, bring success, and then move on, and we'll get that wee kind of conveyor belt of talent coming through the academy and through the managerial level. I think that'd be a great thing for Celtic, and England offers up the opportunity for people there. We're at the England's doorstep. So if there's players that want to come and give us 2 years, and then move on, give us a handsome profit, then I'm all for that, mate.
Mark, we've got Contuck 67 who says that Celtic need to move on a Jetty and they would need to replace him.
Oh, big time! I mean, I think that guy's just happy just to give a fuck and just turn up to training every day, man. He must be one of your highest earners, so that's probably the real motivation behind Celtic Jagger. I think our board and our club would be happy just to let somebody just be a face for the Celtic fans to think we've got another player there. But because he's on like 20-25 grand a week, I think the board and that are rightly saying, right, we need to get rid of this guy. And I actually think we should just pay him off and get rid of him. I think if he's still here after this window, I think it'd be a bad move for the club, you know what I mean? I think the guy just is a bad smell. He just reminds me of the 2020-21 season. The guy just, I need rid of him, mate. I need rid of him pronto.
We've got Contacts back in, and it says that Celtic need a defensive midfielder, especially for the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We need to get somebody who's able to rough up a bit as well. We need somebody that's going to have to do the dirty side of the game in Europe, put in some strong challenges, break up their play, but also have the ability to help the defence out and maybe make a wee cutting-edge pass. It's hard to find that on a budget, but it doesn't mean we don't have to try and do these things, you know what I mean? I don't think even Ange expects any of the players that's in that position, like Adeguchi and Moy, to do that.
If anybody's got any more comments they would like to make, just pop them in the comments and we'll read them out. I think one thing for me, Mal, that I'd want to mention as well is the importance of a strong bench. Because I think we've got a strong bench, but I also did hear people saying on a show the other night that James McCarthy is subject to requirements.
I'm not surprised, mate.
Which I do find not surprising, because if you look at it, I think he's been a good player, but I think every player, I think James McCarthy would have been good in his prime under Brendan Rodgers, that kind of era, but I don't think long term, I don't think he's the option for Ange Postecoglou.
No, he's a very bizarre signing. I think he was signed by Dermot Desmond. And I think that's been shown by Andy's kind of reluctance to play the guy. I think he's got to be one of the guys in 10 years' time. You see on one of the posts that say players who played for a club you forgot existed. You know what I mean? And they'll say, "Oh, fuck, remember him?" I think he's played something like 500 minutes in like four seasons or something like that before he came to Celtic. So he was never going to come up to Celtic and lift it up.
So,
The
sorry,
guy's
Mark.
been a bizarre move by the club.
Somebody's popped in to say, "What do you make of this man? Do you think a Jota might run down his contract as players have done as players have done in the past?"
I think unless he gets offered £1 more a week, he's going nowhere. He's not going to, unless it's financial beneficial for him. He's not going to say his career.
No.
I think he's happy for his career just to stagnate. He'll retire a very rich man. I don't think he's got any. If he had any ambitions, he'd be taking pay cuts to get to even back to Switzerland, to Bâle or something like that. He just looks like he's either that bad that nobody wants him, which I doubt, or he's just making it difficult for teams to come and get him.
Steven says that he would terminate Jota's contract.
Mm-hmm. I would. I find if it frees up numbers, it frees up a shot, then I would do it, because you don't need to pay him off in one lump sum. You could terminate his contract and make it and pay him like his yearly salary once every couple of months or something like that. You could do it that way. You know what I mean? It's not the case of just having to say we owe you £2 million. There's £2 million and you're away. I think Celtic the lawyers could find a way of getting around that, and I just think if there's anybody that's no contributing, and then just get rid of them, mate. You know what I mean? It's the days of sending these guys to play with the under-19s and getting rid of them. The days are over. So I think get rid of the guy as soon as possible.
Mark, just before we go, I want to ask you about Julian and also Scott Bain, because I think it's about time we get rid of these two players, because what's the point of keeping Scott Bain as a third or a fourth choice goalkeeper? I know he's good if you're wanting shots on in training or you're wanting shots on at Celtic Park, but see if you're Scott Bain and you're a decent Scottish goalkeeper and you've got a bit of ambition about yourself, sure you don't want to sit on the bench when you see Seagraves going on as the number one or Joe Hart going on as number one. There's no point in you being there. If you've got any ambition as a football player, he should try and leave. The exact same with Chris Julian. Obviously, Andrew's brought in Jens as his fourth choice. Part of his four centre backs. So surely Julian's time is up.
Well, I think Bain's ambition as a football player was peaked the minute he signed for Celtic. You know what I mean? He's on 10 grand a week or so, and he knows he's not going to be number one. I think he won a treble at Celtic. Took Craig Gordon's shirt off him. That'll be the highlight of his career, and he'll happily run down his contract. In fact, he got a new contract, I think, this time last year at Celtic, and I think the fans were kind of bemused by that. But you're right. If these guys have got any playing ambitions, then they should go. But there's keepers out there who are millionaires that will play maybe 50 games in a 10-year career, and they're happy with that. You know what I mean? And it's littered with them. They're all over the place. You know what I mean? And I think he's played for Dundee. He joined Hibs for a short space of time, and I just don't think the guy's got any ambitions to go anywhere other than see his contract out. And Julian, I think he did try to go to Schalke. I think obviously the deal collapsed because his next year's the contract wasn't at the same money, and he decided against it. But he should be getting ready as well. I think he's a better choice than Welsh. Not to talk about Welsh again, but he's a better choice than Welsh. If Ange sees him as a serious contender for a shot, then keep him. But I don't think Ange sees him as anything other than an agitator.
Mark, we've got a good comment in here from Ryan Kelly, who is basically saying that McCarthy should go out on loan, right? This is something that I've thought about as well, right? Surely you put McCarthy out in a 2-year loan or a 1-year loan, because you still got I think it was a 4 or a 5-year contract with the Brian saying that. So
you got a 4-year contract, mate, but I don't see the benefits of sending a 31-year-old out on loan for a season, because what you got to learn after that? What's the gain after that? You know what I mean? That's just going to give him 1 more year lose fitness in 1 more year to lose his ability to perform at the level he should be at. If you're going to get rid of him, it's going to be permanent. It's going to be full time with him, mate.
Might he come back from Sunderland a better player and fit into Ange better? No.
Mate, if he was 25 or 26, 100%, but he's 31, 32, and if 1 more year wear and tear on his body, has he got to do his Celtic career any good? I think if he was going to be a Celtic player, he would have showed it by now, and he's had wee flashes, and by flashes I mean he made one good pass that led to a goal last season, I think it was. I think the guy was a bizarre signing. He was signed because he was Irish. Well, he's no Irish, he's for Hamilton. But he was signed because of Dermot Desmond. wanted to buy him. And Dermot Desmond signed a few players for Celtic, and he's just one of the ones that was just bizarre. And I think the 4-year contract was because I actually felt at the time it was because they wanted him to move on to coaching. But I kind of get the impression that he's been on a poor salary at Celtic, and he wanted to prolong his career, and to do that, I think they had to give him an extra year or two to make his money up.
Yep. Mark, I just want to ask you one more thing, because I did see in the papers this morning that Paul Lambert has put his name in the hat to be new Motherwell manager. I think that would be great for us to see Paul back in Scottish football, but he's not made a success of being a manager, but I think it'd be great to see Paul back up in Scotland as a Motherwell manager. I think he said this morning that he's interested if Motherwell want to speak to him.
Well, I think he did well at Norwich. I mean, Norwich City, I think he got promoted. And he got him promoted at a very fast rate, and I think he went to the Premier League. And teams like that, he got to the Premier League, mate, they're not getting much of a chance. I don't know what they were expecting there. And I think he moved on to Aston Villa. That was a bit of a ticking time bomb at Aston Villa. I think they were regressing, and they weren't buying players, they weren't spending the money that we needed, and look what happened there. So I think he would probably do well coming to a team like that, because I think that's a middle of the road club in Scotland, you know what I mean? And it's not quite the pressures of Hearts, but it's Motherwell's get their fan base they expect a lot, but they're also patient, and I think that could be a good club for him. But I actually get the impression that if he's coming out in public and saying that tells me that Motherwell haven't approached him, because he'd be keeping his powder dry. I think they'll maybe approach somebody else, mate.
Yep, I also did see Duncan Ferguson and also James McFadden. So they might be going down a little managerial merry-go-round. But finally, Mark, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in, and hopefully, and sure to see you guys tomorrow for Monday Club on the Bus. It's been great to be back on.
Take care, guys. No problem, Reegan.
Take care. See you soon, guys.
Bye.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.